She mocked my job as a waitress for a decade, told everyone I was wasting my life. But on her wedding day, her dream venue lost power. "We have no food," she cried. I rolled up my sleeves and said, "You forgot. I save disasters for a living." Her guests gave me a standing ovation. She was speechless. "My name's Melanie. I'm 34, and I've been a waitress for 15 years. Not a side gig. Not something to get me through school. Not a temporary phase before a real career. This is what I do, and I'm damn good at it. I work at La Fiamma, a lively, family-run Italian restaurant right in the heart of Charleston, South Carolina. The place is chaotic in the best way. Servers weaving through packed tables, customers laughing over plates of spaghetti, the kitchen roaring with orders being shouted in rapid succession. I thrive in it. There's something satisfying about taking a disaster, wrong orders, a packed house, an understaffed shift, and fixing it. It's a rush. Some people work in offices, staring at screens all day. Me? I work with people. I solve problems. I know how to keep my cool when a customer is screaming because their lasagna came out lukewarm, or when a chef is about to murder someone because we just got slammed with 4 parties of 10. It's not just a job to me. It's a skill set. A skill set my cousin Bianca spent over a decade mocking. Now, Bianca and we were never close. We were the same age, but she always made it clear that she was superior. The type who made straight A's, got into a fancy college, and climbed the corporate ladder like it was built just for her. She ended up working in marketing for some high-end fashion brand, and suddenly, she was too good for anyone who didn't have an important career. Every family gathering was the same. "So, Mel, still serving tables?" she'd ask, her voice dripping with condescension. Or, "It's cute that you enjoy it, but don't you want more for yourself?" Or, my personal favorite, the one she said in front of my own parents at Christmas, "One day, you'll grow up and get a real job. You'll see." She never let up. It wasn't just teasing. It was public humiliation. A constant reminder that, in her eyes, I was beneath her. And the worst part? My family let her. "Bianca is just looking out for you," my mom would say. "She means well," my aunt would chime in. "She's just practical," my uncle would add. Practical my ass. But I let it slide. Every single time. Because what was the point of arguing? She'd already made up her mind about me. Then she got engaged. Trevor, her fiancé, was, well, fine. Bland. The human equivalent of an unsalted cracker. He worked in finance, came from money, and had the personality of a LinkedIn profile. But they fit. The wedding was set to be a massive, extravagant event. Some elite waterfront venue right on the Charleston Harbor, a Michelin-starred catering company, a guest list that read like a who's who of important people. I wasn't at the bridal party. No surprise there. But I still got an invite. More out of obligation than anything. I almost didn't go. But then came the wedding day. And then, karma decided to show up in all her glorious, dramatic timing. The ceremony was picture perfect. Golden sunlight, a soft ocean breeze, an aisle lined with expensive floral arrangements that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Bianca looked like she walked straight out of a bridal magazine, all lace and diamonds in perfection. Everything was going exactly as planned. Until the reception. The venue was a stunning glass-walled ballroom overlooking the harbor. Guests were sipping champagne, waiting for dinner to be served. The catering staff was bustling in the back, preparing for the multi-course meal. And then, the lights went out. Not a flicker, not dimming. A full-on, catastrophic blackout. At first, people laughed. A few jokes about romantic candlelight floated around. But then the minutes ticked by. 10, 15, 30. Still no power. I watched as Bianca's face went from mild irritation to sheer panic. "The generator should be on by now," she snapped at the venue coordinator. The woman looked like she wanted to disappear. "We're trying, but there's a major transformer outage in the area. The generator's failing. We're working on it." "Work faster," Bianca seethed. Then, from behind the kitchen doors, I heard someone say the words that turned this whole night into absolute chaos. "The food's gone bad. See, fancy caterers? They rely on power, refrigeration, ovens. Their entire setup depends on having a fully functional kitchen. And without it, no food." The head caterer, some prim-looking man in a chef's coat, approached Bianca with the most terrified expression I've ever seen. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Davenport, but we can't serve anything. All the meat is at unsafe temperatures, the sauces have separated, and we can't cook without the ovens." Bianca blinked at him. "So what? There's no food?" He hesitated. "Correct." That was the moment she snapped. "No, no, no, no. You do not understand. This is my wedding." Her voice hit an octave only dogs could hear. Guests were restless. People were fanning themselves, whispering. Someone's grandmother was loudly asking if there was at least bread. It was bad, and for the first time in my life, I saw Bianca completely and utterly helpless. That's when something in me clicked. I didn't think so. I just acted. I walked up to her, rolled up my sleeves, and said, "You forgot. I save disasters for a living." She turned to me wild-eyed. "Mel, this is not the time. No, this is exactly the time. I pulled out my phone and called my boss. Sal, I said, breathless, I need your help. Say no more, he said. 10 minutes later, La Fiamma's entire crew was mobilizing. Within the hour, we had vans loaded with fresh pasta, salads, garlic bread, anything that could be made fast. My coworker Rico, the best damn line cook I know, was at my side. And with nothing but a few gas burners and pure determination, we made it happen. Plates of steaming pasta, crisp salads, warm, buttery bread, dishes appearing like magic from a kitchen that shouldn't have been functional. The guests? They cheered. And when I finally stepped out, covered in flour and sweat, I got a standing ovation. I locked eyes with Bianca. She was speechless. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. Bianca just stood there, mouth slightly open, eyes flicking between me and the sea of guests who were now laughing, eating, and enjoying themselves. The panic on her face hadn't completely faded. It was still there, lingering at the edges, but now it was mixed with something else, something that almost looked like disbelief. I let the moment hang for a second before I wiped my hands on my apron, the one I had grabbed from the restaurant supply van on a whim, and tilted my head at her. You okay? I asked, keeping my voice casual. She blinked a few times, as if snapping back to reality. And then, before she could finish, her mother, Aunt Caroline, rushed up to us. Oh my God, Melanie, she gasped, gripping my arm. You saved this wedding. Bianca stiffened. She really did, another voice said. I turned to see Trevor, the groom, standing nearby, watching me with an unreadable expression. That was honestly incredible. I shrugged. Just another Saturday night for me. A few guests who overheard laughed. Someone clapped me on the back. Someone else raised their glass in my direction. I felt the warm glow of it all, the hum of approval and gratitude, but I barely had time to let it sink in before Bianca finally found her voice. This wasn't supposed to happen, she muttered under her breath. I glanced at her. Yeah? Well, welcome to the restaurant business. Things go wrong. You adjust. She swallowed hard. For the first time all night, she didn't have a quick retort. No biting remarks. No patronizing comments. She just looked tired. I thought she'd finally say something. Maybe even thank you, if she could bring herself to do it. But before she could, the wedding coordinator swooped in, eager to move things along now that the disaster had been handled. The generator's still not working, she said apologetically, but we're making the best of it. We brought in extra candles and lanterns, and the DJ is setting up a backup speaker with battery power. Bianca exhaled sharply, clearly still frustrated but trying, really trying, not to have another meltdown. Trevor placed a hand on her back. Babe, it's fine. Look around. Everyone's happy. She did, and for a second, I thought I saw her shoulders relax. Just a little. But that moment of calm, yeah, it didn't last long, because that's when Aunt Caroline, still riding the high of not having a ruined wedding, piped up again. You know, Bianca, maybe you should have asked Melanie for help sooner, she said with a smile, taking a sip of her wine. Seems like she's better at handling a crisis than those fancy caterers you paid all that money for. Bianca's eyes snapped to her mother. And that was the exact moment her pride came back in full force. Bianca's whole body tensed. Aunt Caroline meant it as a joke, an offhand remark, maybe even a compliment, but the way Bianca's face twisted, you'd think someone had just slapped her in front of the entire wedding. She turned to me, her eyes sharp, her jaw set. This wasn't about handling a crisis, Mom. It was about a once-in-a-lifetime event being completely derailed. She forced a stiff laugh, like she was trying to keep herself from unraveling. Mel just happened to be there too. Help. That one word, help, came out tight, strangled, like she could barely force it through her teeth. Oh, so that's how she was going to play this? I felt a flicker of irritation, but swallowed it down. I'd done what needed to be done. If she wanted to pretend this was some minor inconvenience instead of a full-blown disaster, that was her problem. Trevor, still standing beside her, rubbed the back of his neck. Babe, let's just be grateful things turn out okay. Your cousin really, I know, she snapped, then immediately forced a tight smile. I know, Trevor. He looked at her for a long second, his lips pressing into a thin line. Interesting. I could feel the tension crackling in the air, but I had zero interest in getting caught up in Bianca's internal war with her own ego. My job was done. The guests were eating, the reception was saved, and I had a kitchen to get back to. I turned to head toward the back, but before I could slip away, another guest approached me. Oh my gosh, Melanie, you're amazing, the woman gushed. I recognized her, one of Bianca's co-workers, I think. Mid-40s, sleek blonde bob, wearing an expensive emerald green dress. Seriously, I don't know how you pull that off. I smiled. Just doing what I do. No, really, she insisted. That was impressive. And you said you run the kitchen at an Italian place? Not run it, I corrected, shaking my head. I'm a waitress. But I've been in the business for a long time, and I know how to handle a crisis. A waitress. Her eyebrows shot up. Wow, you handled that like a 5-star chef. Before I could say anything else, an older man, probably in his 60s, with salt and pepper hair and a sharp-looking navy suit, stepped up beside her. Did I hear that right? You're the one who pulled this together. I blinked, caught off guard. Yeah. I mean, my restaurant team did most of the heavy lifting, but do you have any experience running events? He asked, cutting straight to the point. I hesitated. I mean, not officially, but you should, he said firmly. He gave me an approving nod. I own a few restaurants around the city, and let me tell you, what you pulled off tonight, that's talent. If you ever want to step into management, give me a call. He pulled out a sleek, embossed business card and handed it to me. I stared at it, caught completely off guard. Wow, the blonde woman murmured, glancing at Bianca. Sounds like your cousin's got some real potential. Bianca's entire body stiffened. She didn't say a word, but I didn't miss the way her nails dug into the fabric of her wedding dress, or the way her jaw clenched so hard I thought she might break a tooth. For the first time in my life, she was the one standing in my shadow. The moment stretched between us, heavy and loaded. Bianca had spent years making me feel small. Now, in front of her colleagues, her high society guests, and even her husband, someone was looking at me like I was the one with a bright future. I could see it in her eyes, the way she struggled to keep her expression neutral, the way her throat bobbed as she swallowed back whatever sharp remark was burning on her tongue. I should have walked away. I should have taken the business card, thanked the guy, and gone back to the kitchen. But something inside me, the part of me that had spent years being humiliated by this woman, wanted to twist the knife just a little. So I smiled, turned the card over my hands, and said, a management position? That's funny. Bianca's nostrils flared. Why is that funny? I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Oh, nothing. Just that I've been told for years that waitressing isn't a real career, that I was wasting my life. I let that hang in the air for a second before tucking the card into my apron pocket. But hey, guess I was wrong. A couple of guests nearby chuckled. I saw Trevor suppress a smirk. Bianca's lips parted slightly, like she wanted to argue, to correct me, to regain control of the conversation. But there was nothing she could say. Not after what had just happened. Not after her entire wedding had only been saved because of the job she had spent a decade mocking. She had no choice but to stand there and take it. That moment, that rare, beautiful silence from Bianca, that was my victory, and I wasn't about to waste it. With one last shrug, I turned toward the kitchen, leaving her standing there, fuming. But I wasn't alone for long. The second I stepped through the side door, back into the chaos of the makeshift kitchen, I was greeted with cheers. There she is. Rico grinned, tossing a dish towel over his shoulder. Miss, I save disasters for a living. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't stop the grin from spreading across my face. Oh, shut up. Seriously, one of the other servers chimed in. That was insane. You pulled that off like a pro. I exhaled, suddenly feeling the exhaustion settle into my bones now that the adrenaline was wearing off. Honestly, I just did what needed to be done. Sal's voice rumbled from the back. You did more than that, kid. I turned to see him leaning against a prep table, arms crossed, watching me with that rare look of approval. The one he only gave when I really impressed him. You've always been good under pressure, he said. But that was next level. I rubbed the back of my neck, feeling a little awkward under all the praise. It was just a catering issue. We handle worse every Friday night. Yeah, he said, but not in front of 300 people. And not while saving someone's damn wedding. I felt my face warm. It wasn't a big deal. Yes, it was. I turned to see Trevor standing in the doorway. For a second, I thought he was looking for Bianca. But no, his eyes were locked on me. The kitchen quieted slightly as everyone noticed his presence. He scratched the back of his head, clearly a little out of place in his tux among a bunch of flour-covered, sweaty restaurant workers. I just wanted to say thank you for, everything. I waved a hand. Don't mention it. Just doing my job. No, seriously. He took a step closer, lowering his voice slightly. That was incredible. I don't think Bianca realizes just how badly this could have gone if you hadn't stepped in. I let out a short laugh. Oh, I think she realizes. He huffed out a small chuckle, but there was something behind his eyes, something calculating. I wasn't sure what to make of it. And then, before I could overthink it, he said something that caught me completely off guard. I've always wondered why you two don't get along. I raised an eyebrow. Really? He nodded. She talks about you a lot. That made me blink. She what? He hesitated. I mean, not always in the best way, but she brings you up. More than you'd think. That was unexpected. Bianca never talked to me if she could help it, let alone about me. Before I could press him for details, he let out a breath and shook his head. Anyway, I should get back out there. But seriously, thank you. If it weren't for you, we'd be serving crackers and room-temperature champagne right now. I smirked, glad to be of service. He shot me a grateful look before disappearing back into the reception. And as I stood there, staring after him, I couldn't help but wonder, why the hell was Bianca talking about me? I didn't have much time to dwell on Trevor's words. The kitchen was still running full speed, and I had work to do. But the thought nagged at me. Why would Bianca talk about me so much? The woman barely acknowledged my existence unless it was to put me down. So why the hell would my name be coming up in her conversations? Something about it made my skin prickle, but I shoved it aside. There were more important things to focus on, like making sure the food kept flowing and that Bianca didn't spontaneously combust from the sheer force of her pride being shattered in front of 300 people. The rest of the night went surprisingly well. The guests were fed, the backup battery-powered speakers worked for music, and even though the ballroom remained dimly lit with lanterns and candles, it actually created a kind of intimate, romantic vibe. In the end, people loved it. Most memorable wedding I've ever been to, one guest told me as he grabbed another plate of pasta. Another woman smiled as she blinked her wine glass with her friends. Honestly, this is way better than some stuffy, pretentious five-course meal. The irony was delicious. All that money Bianca had poured into making this the most perfect and luxurious event, all those months of planning, all the high-end vendors, the exclusive caterers, and what saved her wedding wasn't a Michelin-starred chef. It was me, a waitress, the one job she had mocked and belittled for years. She must have known it, too, because she spent the rest of the reception barely speaking to me. Not that I minded, but I noticed something else. Other people were looking at her differently now. Some of the guests, the ones who had seen her meltdown, who had watched as I took control while she spiraled, were whispering. Not in a dramatic, scandalous way, but in a so that's what she's really like. Even Trevor seemed off. He was doing everything right. Dancing with her, smiling for pictures, thanking guests for coming, but I caught him staring at me a couple of times throughout the night. Not in a weird or inappropriate way. More like he was thinking, like something had finally clicked in his brain. By the time the reception wound down, I was exhausted. I had half a mind to slip out quietly, but before I could make my escape, I felt a sharp tug on my arm. "Bianca, come with me," she said through clenched teeth. Oh, this was going to be good. She pulled me out onto the darkened terrace, away from the remaining guests. The air was thick with the scent of the ocean. The only sound was the gentle lapping of waves against the harbor. And then she turned on me, arms crossed, face like stone. "I hope you're happy," she snapped. I blinked. "Excuse me, you humiliated me tonight." I let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Are you serious?" "I saved your wedding, Bianca." Her jaw clenched. "You made me look incompetent. You let everyone see me." She stopped herself, inhaling sharply. I tilted my head. "See what? Lose control." Her eyes burned. "You wanted this." I scoffed. "Are you kidding me? You think I wanted your wedding to turn into a disaster?" I let out a sharp breath. "No, Bianca. I wanted one night where you didn't make me feel like crap for the job I do. But you know what? I'm glad it happened." She flinched. "Because for once in your life, you had to rely on me. And for once, I was the one people respected." I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "You spent years mocking me, belittling me, acting like I was beneath you. But when everything fell apart, all those fancy people you worship, they didn't save you." I smiled. "I did." Her nostrils flared. She looked like she wanted to rip me apart, but she had nothing. No argument. No comeback. For the first time ever, she had nothing to say. The silence was delicious. Finally, she exhaled, shaking her head. "You don't get it." "Oh, I get just fine." I turned to leave, but her next words made me pause. "I always envied you." That caught me off guard. I turned back, frowning. "What?" She let out a bitter laugh. "You think I enjoy doing everything perfectly? You think I love being the one everyone expects to be on top?" She shook her head, looking away. "You get to do what you love. You don't care what people think. You're happy." Her voice tightened. "Do you know how much I wish I could be like that?" I stared at her, stunned. And then, because I couldn't help myself, I smiled. "That sucks," I said simply. "Maybe if you weren't such a bitch to me, we could have been friends." Her face twisted, but she didn't deny it. She just turned, gripping the terrace railing so hard her knuckles went white. And that was that. I walked away, feeling lighter than I had in years. 2 months later, I got a call from Trevor. He and Bianca were getting a divorce. "She's not the person I thought she was," he admitted over the phone. I didn't say I could have told you that. I didn't say I saw it coming from a mile away. I just hummed. "That's rough." There was a pause. Then, in a tone that was just a little too careful, he said, "Hey, I know this is probably weird, but do you want to grab dinner sometime?" I smiled, shaking my head. "No thanks, Trevor. I think I've had my fill of Bianca's leftovers." And with that, I hung up. Best revenge ever.